If you're anything like me, you've always thought the torch-bearing woman in the Columbia Pictures logo was the Statue of Liberty. And, like me, you would be wrong. That noble woman in a toga isn't Lady Liberty, but another classic figure whose roots extend back hundreds of years before Columbia Pictures and movies themselves even existed. So, light a torch and follow me into the Logoverse, where we'll learn how a forgotten symbol of America became one of the film industry's most revered icons. In 1918, brothers Harry and Jack Cohn, along with their business partner Joe Brandt, founded CBC Film Sales Corporation, a second-rate film studio that produced low-budget comedies and melodramas. Although marginally successful, CBC earned itself an unwanted nickname among Hollywood's upper tier: corned beef and cabbage. In other words, cheap and mediocre. Desperate to shake their studio's bargain basement reputation, Brandt and the Cohns rebranded in 1924. Out went the name CBC. In its place, the three founders chose Colombia. That word originates from Christopher Columbus's last name. Add a dash of Latin and you get Colombia. For a long time, Colombia was a poetic way of referring to America. In fact, if you said a person was Colombian, you actually meant they were from the United States. This little fact explains why the name Colombia appears so prominently throughout the US. Take the District of Columbia, or Columbia University, Columbia Records, the Space Shuttle Columbia, and the list goes on. But Colombia was more than just an alternate name for the 13 colonies. In 1776, poet Phyllis Wheatley personified Columbia as a female character, akin to a mythical goddess. Wheatley's poem built off an earlier tradition dating back to the 16th century. At that time, Europeans divided the world into 4 continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Americas. Artistically, they depicted these 4 continents as elaborately adorned feminine icons. Following Wheatley's poem, the American personification found a name: Columbia. You might think of her as the female counterpart to Uncle Sam. But, unlike Uncle Sam, Columbia never quite had a defined look. Typically, she appeared as a young woman, often in a toga and wearing a wreath, or, when she was depicted as a Native American princess, head feathers. Many versions had strong Greek or Roman overtones, drawing on classical mythology. The more obviously patriotic versions were also a clear influence on another iconic character, Wonder Woman. 1924 marked the debut of the rebranded studio's new logo, a medallion depicting Columbia, her design heavily influenced by the Greek goddess Athena. Admittedly more of a rough sketch than a complete design, this version quickly evolved. In 1926, Columbia gained her trademark torch. This choice clearly blended her with the Statue of Liberty. In 1936, the logo took on a much more familiar appearance. Columbia was now proudly standing atop a pedestal, her torchlight ablaze and the background filled with dramatic clouds. One extra detail here missing from more contemporary versions is the American flag draped around Columbia. The presence of Old Glory deepened the logo's already significant patriotism. But because of taboos over using the flag as part of a costume, the studio adjusted their design, swapping out the stars and stripes for a simple draped cloth. By 1943, All the logo's key elements were in place, yet the question of who served as the model for the torchbearer has remained a confusing debate, complicated by several actresses claiming the title. Let's clarify things. Dorothy Revere starred in a number of low-budget hits for Colombia, becoming arguably their most successful actress. She and Harry Cohn even had a brief romance, so it's not much of a surprise that Revere portrayed the studio's original lady in the logo. Flash forward to 1936, when the decision was made to change the design. Revere recommended her friend and fellow actress Amelia Batchelor. Over a course of 4 days, Batchelor posed in a scarlet dress while an illustrator produced an image using her likeness. In the late 80s, Batchelor posed once again as the iconic torchbearer for a People magazine interview. But according to actress Evelyn Venable, who voiced the Blue Fairy in Disney's Pinocchio, it's her likeness that appears in the 1936 design, contradicting the general belief that Batchelor was the second model. Visually, Evelyn Venable does bear a striking resemblance to the Torch Lady. So, what's the truth? Don't expect much help from the studio. Columbia Pictures has never offered a comment, allowing the confusion to linger. Luckily, there's no confusion over the most recent model. In 1992, graphic designer Jenny Joseph posed for artist Michael Deese as the newest Columbia. Deese had been commissioned by the studio to update their emblem, but he was having trouble finding the right model. Finally, his photographer, Kathy Anderson, suggested her co-worker, 28-year-old Jenny Joseph. The shoot took place in Anderson's New Orleans apartment, where Joseph posed wearing a white sheet with blue fabric. She stood against a gray background, holding a small desk lamp as the torch. Over 30 years later, Jenny Joseph's elegant likeness still graces the logo. For an entire generation, she is quite literally the face of Columbia Pictures. While I love the modern logo, my nostalgia always pulls me to the version from the 1980s. You'll notice the colors are quite a bit different compared to the current logo. The torchbearer wears an orange toga, not white, and the cloth draped around her is brown, not blue. We've all seen this version at the start of Ghostbusters, and a slightly adjusted version at the beginning of Ghostbusters 2. But the classic 80s logo also appears at the beginning of other great films like Tootsie, Stripes, Stand By Me, and The Karate Kid. Finally, I can't end without mentioning a terrific spoof of the logo from the 1959 Cold War satire The Mouse That Roared, a lesser-known film starring Peter Sellers. The movie opens with a live-action actress playing Columbia. She dashes off the pedestal after seeing a mouse, leaving her torch dangling in mid-air. Well, that's another episode of Into the Logoverse. What's your favorite version of the Columbia Pictures logo? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like and subscribe. I'm Michael Cahill. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for even more videos.